All right. So this is Transparency and Merit. We welcome open. We are open to all forms of debate and discussion, whether you're, I guess, could say Christian, Muslim, atheist, Buddhist, gay, straight or gay. However, your your views go. So long as you do so in a respectful manner, we do welcome people on our show, and I'm gonna try to plan a conversation with, I believe her name is Kendra, and she is from Truth Social. But I'm posing a question out there, and I know I don't get too many listeners, but I'm posing a question on what are you going to do about it? Just a thought. What is the best way to handle confrontation with somebody or even an organization or even a person that is more powerful than you and that has the means to do you harm? What is the best way to go about fighting this person or fighting this organization? What is the best way to go about it? How can one defend themselves, and how can someone make inroads against something that is powerful? Joe, I'm going to bring it to you. I have some ideas, but I'm going to bring it to you and see what ideas you come up with. And
So I've mentioned this already, and I'll continue to mention it because I'm still learning about it. Just like Stoicism is something that you find as an endeavor you like to work towards. And I have often considered myself, to really not. Okay, so I'm a pacifist. And as a pacifist, I believe that violence is an absolute last resort. Don't get it twisted. If you step on my lawn or in my home, in my property, and you shouldn't be there, there's going to be problems. But I mean, in general in life, and it's a life philosophy I'm learning, is not as easy as it sounds. And I was provoked even last week. I was provoked, and I reacted in a way that was the only way I knew how to react. It was in self-defense, but it was just not the situation I wanted to be in. And I felt like in that case I had exhausted every diplomatic way of resolving things, and I did react physically, and it doesn't happen often. I can't tell you the last time that I reacted in such a way, but it showed me that pacifism is not as easy as it sounds. And but when it comes to conflict, I feel like there's always a diplomatic way or methodology to solving the situation in a not a passive or passive aggressive or even aggressive way, but in an assertive manner, where both parties can walk away possibly feeling benefit, or at least having justice served in some way or another. As a pacifist, I also feel it's the only way to address uh, things that are going on in at higher levels of court. At the lower levels of court, which are commerce-based systems, strictly working, for at getting money, and and I feel like that whole system is not. It's not the best way to go in without being able to defend yourself properly. But at the higher court levels, absolutely, the clerks, the people that you deal with, judges, um, going in with a pacifist mindset is, in my view, the only way to truly get things done. And I'm also talking about the registrar's offices, and dealing with getting certain paperwork filed. You you It behooves you to be at least diplomatic, if not uh, uh, be a pacifist. So, anyways, I rambled a little bit, but I mean that's just how I've taken on to things like in what you're explaining. How do you handle some sort of I don't know what you call it, aggression, even microaggression.
And that all depends, and sometimes one has to, pick their battles and realize, where they want to fight and how they want to fight. And you can be super angry at everything. And again, there are some battles that perhaps you may not want to engage in, but there are times when it is necessary, perhaps when it's maybe life or limb. But I don't see that at this point in this country. And for me, right now, America and the civilized world are primarily fighting. It is an economic battle. It is a legal battle. And it is a battle basically for information. And you can be angry or even condescending, but that's not going to work. That's not going to necessarily gain you allies. It's very hard not to do. And there are a lot of people who are histrionic and over emotional, and you can display them if you want to, but you're not going to gain anything from these people. When you're seeing, if you see a person with a certain sign or sticker, sometimes the best thing to do is to keep walking and do not engage, because the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to recognize your beliefs. And these people have an ideology, and if their ideology is out to hurt you, then or if you disagree with their ideology and they may hurt you, sometimes the best thing you can do is to walk away. And I know for myself, there was a time when I guess I thought I was red pilled and I could, be brutally honest with people. That's not the case at this point in time. There are certain questions that one should ask and move on from there. If they don't get it to a degree, begin to move on. The question that I always ask somebody is, does due process just belong to a court of law? And anytime there is punitive action, should due process be afforded whenever humanly possible? And when they don't answer my question, these people are punitive. I mean, that these people are punitive and that they will be punitive regardless of logic or reason. And for the most part, when I ask people these questions, the answer that they give me tells me just about everything you need to know. When they don't answer my question, or they continue with the same argument, then you already know what you're dealing with. And I'll tell you, I've been proven right just about every time I ask or proceed to ask that question. You know exactly what you're dealing with when you ask that question, and the types of answers that they give you. You automatically know when to continue the conversation or when to stop talking to them, because talking to them could be very dangerous depending on how active they are. Now, sometimes you just want to stand your ground and speak your mind, but that's not always the best idea. And sometimes it's not always who's right, but what's right. Joe, do you have a response to that, or did I make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, sure, you made sense. Little rambly at times, but I think I get it. But I was too. Um, what are you going to do? What's the rest of this title? You're muted.
What are you going to do about it is the title.
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, and
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 that's a good question because it's focused more on doing. And I have there's a quote that sticks in my mind, and it's like no matter what you're studying or learning to do, um, if you may claim to be not very knowledgeable about something, but until you act and before you do, it's showing that you don't know it. And so that's a real vital um, you know progression in any sort of study. It's sure, yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, well, what are you going to do with that knowledge? And I get asked that quite a bit, and it's important. It's important, a before you set off on a journey of knowledge and understanding about a particular subject. It's probably a good idea to step outside the box and think about how it is by dedicating this time and energy into to learning something new or foreign to my current knowledge. And if you can sit down and honestly ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this? You can discover a lot of times your intent. I know one guy who comes on who's a bit belligerent at times, and he told me of a predicament where, I asked him, well, what is his intent with learning certain aspects of the law? And when he described what it is he was after, it was plain and simple. He's using the information to help bolster his ability to get back or act on his intentions for revenge. And so, if your intention is mistaken from the outset, if your intent is bad, then the results are going to be bad, no matter how much you learn.
yeah, I think that revenge is something, it is part of human nature to a degree, and I've had those feelings. They're less so today, but there is a part of me when someone is authoritarian to me and does things that I see as unfair. There is a primal part of me that wants to defend myself to the utmost, and wants to just really just go off half cocked. There is that natural urge, and I think that is a natural urge within humanity. Anytime you think that you are being wronged, you want to right that wrong. Anytime that you think that you are being harmed, you want to, you want to set things correctly, and you want to do harm by nature to those that are doing you harm. That is something that is primal in man. And anytime you hear something that is that you think is unfair, or I'll say for me, anytime that I hear something or see something that I see as unfair or I see as unjust, there's a part of me that does get really angry, and a large part of me wants to say something, and I get angry when I hear people that come off with assessments and stuff, and they have a large forum, and they sound really rather ignorant, and it's like there is a large part of me that wants to tell them the what for, and give them harshness, but I do that less nowadays because one of the things that ended up happening is people will attack you, and they will try to report you, and they will try to basically try to hurt you economically, and that's where we are at today. Certain things, if you go against the establishment, they have the power to shut you down, and and they use that power without discussion, and without discussion, and without debate, and it's very authoritarian. And again, what are you going to do about it? What rights do you have as a human being, and what you believe is a free and noble society, or what you think is noble? And again, are these, do you think these people who are making these rules, are they noble people? What do you intend to do about it? And how do you intend to fight them? And if you only have one avenue of attack, I think that perhaps you're not thinking outside of the box. One of my problems with some of the free thinkers, or some of the people who believe in liberty, they only think in terms of their own nation. They don't necessarily take into account that we are a global society. And I've said this before. It was not, I don't think it was any foreign nation that asked us to lock down. It was not any foreign nation that demanded that we get the vaccine. It was not any foreign nation that defamed our law enforcement. And it was not any foreign nation that said Antifa is just an idea, that it's not a real thing. These were other Americans who had a belief, and their belief was very authoritarian. And they basically are there to fool with the perception, because they control they control the media, and now they control social media, and they also control the means of the economy, and they can do things to people and punish them without any kind of due process, without any hearing, to see the fact that you are a human being, and they don't necessarily see you as a human being. I think a lot of times when you go against certain ideologies, the hive mind in that group tends to objectify you, and you're just an object for punishment. I had someone say that she felt sorry for me, but had no empathy for me. I don't know what she meant by that, but it seemed rather cruel. And it seemed to be the fact that this person wanted to do me harm. And it did make me angry. Because who are you to want to do me harm just for expressing my opinion that is different than yours? I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Joey. Uh, if you have anything to add before we perhaps call this show a day.
No, that was a good point, and I think it should stand. Yeah, I have no more really to go on with that, but it all made sense, and I think keeping it calm and acting. I still, uh, especially, I think now. Okay, interesting that I bring this up, but I've maintained for a long time to keep an observer lens, and I look at the title. What are you gonna do now? So I've observed. I've mixed it up a few times. I've gone beyond mere observer, and and I've walked away from certain things. But what are you gonna do? And it's really on my mind. I've lived here, grew up here in Southern California, and I can't help but think how done with it I am. So what are you gonna do?
Do about
And
it. What are you going to do about it? Yeah.
yeah, what are you gonna do about it? And part of me is there's just nowhere to run, there's nowhere to run to. So what is it that I want? So what are you gonna do about it? And what do you want? What is your intent? And it's been my intent. It's been my desire for a long time to manifest a farm. And so now I'm looking for some land where I could maybe make that a reality. Uh, I only have my experience to really go by, because I feel a lot of what's out there right now is corporatized and really really doesn't have a true connection to what I want to do, what I'm going to do now, and why, and and all the W's, who, what, where, when, and why. But you can't get there unless you know what it is you want and what your intent's going to be. And if you start off on a million-mile march in the wrong direction, you're never going to get there. So it's really important to take that first step with confidence and awareness. And for many people, it's that first step. It's that first step. And that's my Achilles heel. It's always that first step. It's always about thinking about potential consequences that may or may not even exist. It may have to do with my upbringing, my programming, and all the things that I've set off to destroy, to rebuild again with a new outlook and an understanding of which direction I want to walk. And so I don't make the same mistake twice. I want to make my first step the most important step.
Yeah, and I think we need to. I think at times we need to again reassess. Again, and I'll say this again. I mean, sometimes you have to know who the person that is doing these things, who they are, who are the people in charge, who are, and what kind of power they have. What exactly are you dealing with?
Right. And what's the transparency factor here? How much of this, time maybe about people in public servant or civil servant capacity or public figures. What is it, that we want to get, and how do we approach that diplomatically? And this is also where, it comes down to, am I a real pacifist? Can I handle rejection? Can I for success? And these are factors that help me understand what it is I want to achieve. And I guess it's as simple as that. But I just want to take that first right step, because everything that follows, if I take the wrong step, everything that follows would be a waste of time and it'll be incorrect.
Yeah. Again, you have to ask yourself who is given a table at the seat to make policy, who has, who is given the rights of human beings within the government, within large corporations.
Yeah, what are we dealing with?
Yeah. What rights do you have? And what rights do they have the right to take away from you? And I think one needs to ask as many questions as humanly possible when human rights are at stake and certain forms of liberty are at stake. And this is, again, the internet and social media is rather new. And people are seeing a side of themselves and a side of humanity, I think, that have not been seen before. Human beings can see themselves at their worst. Rarely we see human beings at their best. We always see people at their worst. And are we to be defined by our worst behavior? And now again, there seems to be a large gaslighting media that wants to control social media, mainstream or corporate.
Absolutely. What do you think a lot of these sites are with everyone's personal information on them? I wonder who runs these things. I bet you that these are, social liberty people. I think there are, who is supplying that information for a fee?
Yeah, and again, for me, what is larger for me is, the right to be heard. I can hear you in the background, Joey. You sound like you're coughing up something. I apologize, but
I did. I'm coughing up a lung.
I'm sorry. But the right, the right as a human being to be heard on these channels, and a lot of the people say, freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach, and these people believe that the information that certain people bring, is too dangerous for people to decipher. And then we look at them and everything that perhaps they have basically pushed upon us, and they pushed it upon us without much discussion, tends to be wrong. There is evidence of the jab causing a lot of medical difficulties. And this was, and again, it may be a fact that, there are medical difficulties with these things, and it's a better risk than the disease itself. That's always a possibility. But the fact is the manner in which they've gone about it seems to be reckless. And the same thing about election integrity. The manner in which the mainstream media has talked about this issue seems to have been very reckless. And reckless in a way that I have never seen before, behavior that I've never witnessed before. And I don't necessarily, I have certain ideas on how this came about and why this kind of thing came about. A lot of this is with Generation X, and I guess you could say Generation, the Millennials. Generation Z hasn't come up yet, but this kind of behavior is rather new, and it seems rather toxic and very dismissive of anything or anyone that disagrees with them. And they began to editorialize, and they're very sanctimonious. And, like I said, they still have the mic. People say, oh, it's the end of this station. I hear these YouTube channels say they're on their way out. They're gonna be forced to change. Not really. It doesn't look that way to me. And maybe they're funded by certain groups because they like the messages that they are sending out, even if they're incorrect and wrong. And that's the way it goes. But again, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to attack this issue? If you only think with regards to America, well, you can't sell you can't sell cell phones. There's a guy who made a phone called Freedom Phone, and it was bought in China. I would love to have a transparency phone, not bought in China, but bought maybe in America. I mean, like with Chinese parts, because again, it is not the Chinese, it's not the South Koreans, it's not the Saudi Arabians, it's not the Afghanis or anyone else who decided for the lockdowns and decided for mandatory, decided for the mandates, or decided how to, or told us it was a mostly peaceful protest, and defund the police, and the big lie. These are Americans who are doing this. It's not the Chinese. And again, it's not a foreign body that's doing this. This is internal. This is inside. And what are you going to do about it? They are making demands upon you. If you own a business, they're making demands upon you. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but I'm kind of obsessed. And there is a part of me that says, what is the best way? I do think of thinking outside of the box. And yeah, High Ridge Estates says, yeah, but High Ridge Estates is another person who basically, when I've talked to him in the past, he basically comes from an emotional place.
Yeah.
And by the way, men used to not behave that way.
Right. Oh, yeah. That was one of the big things, even when I was growing up, even though it was soon to be kind of maybe moved aside. But I remember feeling the heat and understanding the rules of emotion, especially in the corporate world and maneuvering friendships around and stuff. There was this level of you didn't want to be caught being too emotional, and that was I felt.
Joey, I hate to respond to this.
Yeah, but I'm not done.
I know, but I really don't want to cut you off, but I really want to respond. By the way, Scott and I kind of hit it off because he came at me emotionally first, and I responded. And I was wrong for doing so, but again, I respond emotionally and viciously to your viciousness, Scott, to your viciousness, and I responded in kind. It was a retaliatory method that I did. And again, that kind of behavior, by the way, Yes, you did. You told me to shut the F up. Yes, you did. Nonsense. You came at me, I came at you. No, I wasn't stoic. But it was part of my primal, it is part of my primal nature. You have a primal nature, and I have a primal nature. And you pushed my primal nature. Go ahead, Joe.
So yeah, and in my life, it was a series of knockdowns because I was raised by an emotional mom, and I picked up a lot of those things, and I hadn't looked in the mirror and seen them until, you know, maybe it was I don't want to say a tad late, but it was it took me a while. It took me many years to develop my own method for handling situations that get emotional. I think everybody's on a different journey to get there, but I do remember a point while I was it was sort of my Jedi training, my emo Jedi training, if you will, and I saw during this time that while it's probably a good thing for some reasons to put those away, to pack those emotions away. Um, I could see that the upcoming generation was far less concerned with those barriers, and 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 to learn and to see that in play. What are you going to do about it? Well, that was that's a tough one because suddenly I was dealing with a lot of people, either at work where I supervised a bunch of millennials, not to call out a whole group, but these are a few members of the millennial uh, crew, and it was very true. Like it was anything I said was interpreted in a emotional way when uh, it couldn't have been any more less of my intent to do so. So suddenly my intent was getting distorted and even getting me not in trouble, but forcing me to explain myself in further detail, which is just more work on top of the work, and and it goes on and on. But I've seen this rise of soy boy, whatever you want to call it, kind of reaction or reactionary emotion. It's it's been very interesting. It's sort of a flashback to when I was a kid and when I was far more emotional and um, probably wasn't as trustworthy for that very reason. And the more I was able to pack in my emotions in such a way that I would try to healthily um, express them and get it out, it always seemed like I was getting it out to the wrong people. And so suddenly it was less and less people wanted to hear the emotional side. And and then on the other hand, if I felt something with emotion and strongly with emotion, I felt like the millennials or the younger people who were were wrapped up in this and thriving off of it were actually feeding off of my emotion rather than looking for maybe a solution with me to figure it out a little better, to understand it. So I think I was kind of in the middle of like a strange transition. It's a good uh, study because we're talking about recent history, really, maybe from the 90s until now, that I have to draw upon. And yeah, it's been quite a journey for that. Anyways, I'm rambling. Go ahead.
I should say to a degree, I strive for stoic calm, but again, I am a human being, and again, I am a man, and I have primal. I have very. I can have primal urges when I am when I feel to a degree disregarded as a human being, and my thoughts are disregarded. There's a primal urge to want to do harm to those who do that to you. It is something that is part of nature. And when I was younger, if somebody had done that to me, I would have tried to do as much physical harm. And I'm not a pacifist, and I don't do this today. But there is a part of me that if someone did something to me, I would. Again, that's not what I'm saying. But if you behaved in a certain way, you tell someone to f. When you tell someone to shut the f up, those are words. Because my next thing is, are you going to make me? Are you like if we were in the street and I said something and you told me that, I would say, sir, are you going to make me? Are you going to make me? Is this what you're going to do? What are you going to do? Are you here to make me be quiet? Are you here to do me harm?
And you see, going from 0 to 60 like that is not a good place to start bargaining. That's the problem.
Again, when someone tells you to shut the f up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are.
Well, what are your options, Brian? You tell me. What are your options at that point of how can you react? Go ahead.
Again.
Seriously, no, I want to do a little exercise. What are the possibilities here? To ignore and walk away?
Okay.
Is that one? To come back at him with aggression? To maybe inquire a little further, maybe try an assertive approach to figure out where have things gone wrong so quickly, or do you react with your, because at that point, if you're reacting in your flight or fight mode. Your cerebral cortex is swelling, you're feeling heat, you're hot, you're sweating, you're angry, your anger meter has just shot through the roof. So are you telling me that you don't have control over that? Because at that point, when you answer that response with more fire, you are not helping a situation.
I'm kind of struggling with this because to a degree, when somebody,
I'm not taking anyone's side here. I'm being neutral. That's why I'm asking.
I'm just pointing this out. Again, I will say this, that if you are ruthless enough, and I learned that, look, I learned that my father, one of the things my father, and I don't agree with any, but the one thing he taught me is the universal language of violence. I'm just telling you. And if you are ruthless enough and you're vicious enough, that is a power to that. And there are times when you need to do those kinds of things, and it is effective.
It's complete. So the result there is somebody goes to jail, Brian, is what you're saying.
That's true. That's true. Somebody does. I'm not saying. And I'm talking about a time when when you could be ruthless, and perhaps like nowadays, I guess people are more likely to get caught, but there have been times.
Forget about all that. What about your moral compass, your ethical standards? What about everything? Do you just drop it? That's why you don't make a decision in flight or fight mode. That's why you don't go shopping when you're upset. That's why you don't there's so many ways to see this, but I'm wondering now because what your response is way over the top. That is fear mongering at its height, and that is what I feel that what's his name with the beanie, Tim Pool. I feel like Tim Pool comes off that way all the time.
So isn't there, like I said, I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that it is correct. I'm saying that to this degree, I am a human being, and when somebody tries to derail you in the manner in which they do, then yeah. I mean, I have primal instincts within me. They're not in me that often, but they are still there. And some of the manners in which individuals come at me can draw that, but that on an intellectual side, I know that that is a weakness, but on an emotional side, and even some intellectualness to it. Sometimes when diplomacy fails, you know, violence is required. Not all times when diplomacy fails. Sometimes you walk away, but other times you enact some form of justice. And like I said, I have a primal nature, and so I have a primal nature, and so does High Ridge. He also has a primal nature. And we're both going on our primal natures. But
I get that, but I'm just saying, if you really want to, so I mean, if you want the argument and you want the hot and you want the drama, you can get it. We get that. We get that. But you went from zero to fire in your response. Is that how you want to that's what I'm saying. With passivism, you have to, as observer, recognize what you're looking at, and you have to stop and look at all of your options. And it's not easy to do. It's practice, and it's something that does become second nature. But if your intention is wrong, like I said, you take and if your intention is wrong, your first step is going to lead you in the wrong direction, and you are going to find out this. I'm not you, but the supposed or the pacifist hopeful, if you will, is going to fail. And I've certainly failed. I've walked around and round, and when the time came to be tested, I failed. I could have solved the problem, but it required more patience than I had already applied. And I had applied a lot of patience, a lot. And it when it came down to it, it absolutely caught me off guard.
yeah, I mean, again, I absolutely hear you, and I just say this again. Uh, I strive for stoicism, but again, I do have emotional reactions. That is my weakness. At this point in time, my reaction to certain people at certain times, uh, that emotional reaction is still there. Like I said, I know in my logical half, I know that that is correct. And I'm saying primarily when I was younger, again, I'm pretty sure I can walk away today. But I'm just saying, when I was younger, and even not so short time ago, I mean, I was very, like I said, I was very angry at this person because, again,
Mm,
I felt the manner in which he chose to come at me
mm,
was very confrontational. And again, I don't necessarily have ever like knew this person very well. That was an absolute threat,
mm.
at that time, because when someone says that to you, those are fighting words,
Right.
you know and if someone's going to do some if someone's going to verbally say something that are fighting words, I have found that sometimes they don't end at that thing. So I'm very aware that this is a possible hostile person, a possible enemy that may have to be contended with. So my thing is be aware of this enemy and make him aware that you are willing, if he takes things further, to do him extreme harm. And I'm not, that's again, that is if they continue with behavior. I recognize danger, and I recognize that sometimes people's words come with further danger. And to me, that took a lot of cojones to tell someone you don't even know to shut the F up. That is, that is something that, hey, now I know you told that to me, but you know me. You know who I am. And
Mm.
I don't take what you say as a threat, but I didn't know High Ridge that well. So
Right.
you said that to me, that I took as a threat, and that I take as someone wanting to do me harm or possible, if you just said that,
And that is the aspect of passivism that your brain will should automatic in my case, I should automatically be thinking of alternatives, not to flee, but not to aggress, and but to figure out the way to make this a workable situation, which requires thinking on your feet, and it's not easy. And so, anyways, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
again, I'm a human being. I have human, I want to be treated as a human being with human rights and treated with respect. And when someone comes at me with disrespect, they earn my disrespect, and I come at them accordingly. And again, I am a person, by the way, who recognizes when a situation is hostile and when someone may attack or do me harm, and I'm very aware of that. And again, I don't see him now as somebody like that, but when I first came into him, and I do see him as somewhat of a hostile person by nature. If he disagrees with you, he will go at you in the most, vicious verbal ways. And he doesn't respect. He's not the type of person who will, disagree and not be disagreeable as a person. That is Scott's nature. I know him enough to know his nature. And if you disagree with him, he will be very disagreeable and very confrontational. I don't think he's a physical person, but when I didn't know him when I didn't know how he was.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, but it's okay.
And again, I come from a place where, certain, we're certain, there's certain standards of conduct, and when those rules are broken, they are. they are met. It's kind of like, hey, what's this person going to do?
But Brian, I also say it's also, I feel maybe a bit of a hive mind mentality. Maybe something you said goes against the current, the most current court of public opinion.
I believe that with Scott. Scott, in some ways, has very hive mind mentalities, and he's very passionate about those. And again, that is primarily an emotional state. And my thing is, I got emotional from his emotion. And again, anytime somebody comes at another human being and they do it in the manner that they do, you run the risk of hostile action. I personally strive to be to come at people with respect, sight unseen, and they have to earn my disrespect. And when they earn my disrespect, how how bad the violation is will be the manner in which like whatever course I choose to take after that. And like I said, I'm not a pacifist, and I guess I don't believe in fighting words, but there's still a part of me that believes some things to be fighting words, and that I do take, I guess, offense at, an offense to the point where I would want to do this person harm because I would think they may want to do me harm. And I take that, I take those words to a degree as a threat. I mean, if this was at a party, the urge to, like, give a stiff kick to the leg and a punch to the jaw would
You
be.
see, it doesn't matter where you go. I would strive to always be a pacifist across all lines, in all situations, in all scenarios for which I put myself in. Did he drag you to that party, or did you go on your own volition?
That's true. That's true. And to this extent, and sometimes I got to stay out of parties, and I don't go to bars, and I don't go to places where I could possibly be antagonized into a point of confrontation. The thing is, we are social creatures. We're not logical human beings. We're social human beings. And when somebody takes away that social part of human beings, people will take that.
Wait a second here. If somebody violates your view of, or your world view,
No. I mean, there is standards of conduct, and here we go. All right.
not true. I go places with you.
That's true. Shoot. But yeah, I mean, I don't go out that much anyway. But again, if somebody was to give me a hard time, or like because I had a view, and this is rather new, this behavior is something that's rather new, where people are so passionate about things that they will try to shut people down.
I don't know, man. It sounds to me like you're applying social standards to him. You're doing exactly what he's doing to you, in your words. Exactly. If he does or says and comes at you a certain way, You want to staple some sort of Bill of Rights to his face.
Well, again, not in, there is a part of me that does believe, that there are maybe not legal fighting words, but there are words that escalate a situation. And again, it is not correct to do that, but by nature, when someone tells you to shut the F up, that is considered to a degree to be a threat, and that is a fighting word.
Depends on what neighborhood you're in. I bet you all the neighbors might talk that way to each other. Maybe. Who knows?
If it's familiar and you know the person,
Okay, but these are your standard. Then you got a gray area. Some people feel we're all connected in some way.
like I said, context is everything. And again, there are there are things that again that I am still struggling with regards to my nature. And when individuals come at me in a belligerent way, there is a part like, hey, you're being authoritarian, and I want to resist, I want to rebel. And what other way do I have to rebel if I have no other means, or if a person has no other means? And what do they do? I mean, there are times when where things made me so angry that my only there were thoughts of doing harm, and there were the belief of doing harm to those who want to do you harm. That is a that is part of a lot of people's nature. And yeah, I mean, and that's part of my nature. And I think there are a lot of other people that have that, that nature, that primal nature in them. That you do me, you strive to do me harm. I'm going to do you harm, and even more harm that you intend to do me.
Again, I think these are, first of all, you have absolutely nothing to support what your brain is concocting. Some badass mofos might be walking down the street. They might have been just smoking a blunt, and they're like, "Hey, here comes some white dude. Let's just say hi or say something weird." And they get up to you and they get in your face, like, "What's up?" And then you take it the way you're taking it now, and they're just a couple dudes that are high who are just about to just look at each other and start busting up laughing. And you might, pull out a gun and shoot them because you feel threatened.
Again,
I mean, this is what I'm feeling. Now my imagination's working a little overtime.
imagination is really working, Joe.
I'm going along with your logic. I am absolutely going with your logic. Tell me I'm not.
Not necessarily. Again, my logic is you do something wrong to me. I'm going to do something. I'm in my mind.
Can we define something?
If you make a command to me, you say something that is a command.
Okay.
That
Do you,
is. Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Do you have a right to say no? Hey, man, fix my tire.
Make me.
Make my day.
You know,
Hey,
I
hey,
probably
kid.
I said, are you here to make, like, as I said before, if someone has told me to shut the F up, I give them, a look and I say, and maybe I'll have a glass or a bottle in my hand,
Uh,
to strike them on some part of their body. And, because I want to hit them before they even, make an attempt. But I would just say, I would kind of, go to them kind of maybe quietly when no one was, around,
mhm.
hopefully, and I would ask them. So you told me to shut the f up. What would you do if I didn't? What would you do?
Is that the right response, or is that your only response, or do you have other options at that point?
Again, my ego would have. I do have other options, but and I'm not talking about now.
Right.
But again, my option. I mean, at that point, um, my primal mind sees this person as a threat, and I want to rid or do harm to that threat to my person.
I'll be honest, if you bring that to any anger management therapist in the world, he would break that down and tell you what I'm telling you. What are your options? And I'm just being straight. Like that would be the response. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Part of the narrative, a lot of the narrative of psychotherapy and psychology, I feel doesn't fit everybody. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not applying them to you. I'm just saying that is the response you might get from somebody, processing your thoughts for you.
Yeah, again, I mean, there is a part of me that if I see somebody as a threat, and again, now I don't, I won't necessarily use violence, but there is a part of me that if someone wants to do me harm, and thinks that how I believe or what I think, and they want to do me harm, it's by nature to want to do the same thing to them. That's just nature.
I mean, that's just the street. I mean, that's just, that's base thinking right there. That's animal logic, basically. Animals work in fight or flight mode, and so you're basically, I mean, it's easy to look at from a bird's eye view, right? In play, it's a lot different. I get that. Say you're on a date and somebody's pulling this on you. You know what I mean? Or you're with somebody that you love or respect or whatever, and somebody does this to you very openly and brazenly. Are you still going to react this way?
I would react differently to a female than I would to a male. But I might, like I said, there was one time a woman, uh, threatened to get my ass kicked, and I came.
And
Well, I said, you want him? You want me to give him? This is. I don't care who kicks. I one time said to her, I don't care who kicks my ass. I can do you harm, and I mean real harm. Right now, you want that? Because yeah. Again, I don't. There are things that are not necessarily logic. Like again, that are in the best ways to deal with things,
mm,
and the same thing when a man is horny as when he's angry at the time. when you got all your emotions are reared up, you're not going to necessarily hear the things that are being presented at the time. And at this time, there is a part of me.
Brian, I will just say this. Somebody says something to you and you're brandishing a glass, a bottle that you break, you just earned yourself 52 weeks with a psychotherapist and a fine. If the cops are called, I'm just telling you, and I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
And that's just for holding the friggin' bottle.
I wouldn't break it unless I had to break it. Well, now, could I break it on a person in self-defense?
Now that's a different story. Now you're talking about a physical
Because my thing was,
situation.
if I thought the person was going to, because the person already said some fighting words to me, and I'd want to get close enough to him where whatever object that I had would do that person physical harm.
Mm.
Again, if he chooses to challenge me, and I ask him, well, what are you going to do if I don't? And I have like a bottle, or maybe I don't know, maybe a pen, or something that perhaps can be used in a manner that is,
Like a weapon. A weapon.
Yes.
So I mean that's
Again,
in self-defense it's a different story, but you're just talking about words. You're talking about getting fired up over a demand. People say there's crazy people out there who think you owe them something. A lot of seniors out there who think they're owed the world. And it's a very real possibility. Somebody might say something like that to you on a hot summer day. They're dehydrated, their car's broken down, and you're walking through the streets and some dude just says, "Hey, fix my car." What are you going to do?
Make me. Again, I'm not saying that these things are logical. I mean, I'm not saying that these are the best actions.
Okay.
I'm just saying that I struggle with my primal nature. And I think a lot of human beings.
No, you don't.
Yes,
No, you don't. When do you struggle with your primal nature? I'm calling this garbage out. When? I need to know.
All the time.
Give it to me, kid.
No, I'll be honest with you. Someone mentioned, walked over to me, and I was like, I was, they said something, and I said, "Can I help you?" And they said, "What's up, Lurch?" And I said, "Okay."
Sticks and stones may break my bones, man.
Yeah, no, I believe in that. But there was a time that I did not. And again, there's a part of me that still has that, but it's not. Again, it's not there anymore. And I'm a much bigger man than Scott, so I would never consider him a threat physically. And it goes the same for June as well.
What if he had a bionic arm?
He could, and again, he could be someone who is well trained. I mean, like who knows how to defend himself in ways that I don't. And he could, even as a smaller person, has the possibility of defeating me. That's true too.
Lurch?
Yeah. And I just said, okay, and I walked away.
You should have went, did-did-did-dum.
Yeah, I could have.
And then walked away. Did-did-did-dum.
Again, there is my primal nature.
We all do. We all have that primal nature. We all have the reptilian thinking brain. We do. We have a reptilian brain. Yeah, we're all armed with these features, but the bottom line is, man, you sound like you sound like 9 out of the 10 people I ever worked with, and worked with them in long-term anger management classes, and I'm not even kidding.
I think he did call me Uncle. I don't remember if he called me Uncle Fester. I think I don't.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, and you know what? I didn't like it, but again, the guy didn't know me. I don't know where like he looked like he was. Yeah, I mean he might have heard me online or whatever.
He might have heard you talking, bloviating.
You know what? He may have.
Oh wow.
But again, like I said, I do
I
have.
hope that's not a paranoid thought of yours.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
I do have a primal nature, as most human beings. In Joe, you know, I believe that you also have a primal nature as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we all get angry and upset, and we all do things that maybe we'll regret afterwards.
I tapped into my primal being a couple weeks ago. Even and last week I had 2 instances, and it was great, and it was filled with consequence.
Yeah. And we as human beings do that. We have our primal urges, and our primal. Sometimes people set off our primal our primal instincts, and they go right to work, and there are and that I fight. I become like, um, I guess to a degree, if I see something as a threat, I either want to flee, or I plot, and I think, like, how can I effectively deal with this threat? What can I do to what can I do to uh, to harm this person or thing that is threatening me? What can I do to it that that can stop the threat and stop this person to from doing what he's doing? You know, how can I neutralize this threat? And again, that's not necessarily logical, but it is part, I think, of my nature. And it may not be something that is in human nature, but there's a part of me that believes that it is. And if you've grown up in any kind of hostile environment, any kind of violent environment, uh, hostility when you see it, and you could be wrong, but there are things that people do that set off primal nature, and yeah, so that's just it. I mean, again, I'm a human being, and I do have a primal nature, and I have primal instincts. That's not necessarily logical or even reasonable, but I don't think human beings are. We're social beings, and yeah. Anyway, Joey, do you have anything to add before we end this show? Hello?
You know what, Madonna? I think we covered. I think it's important. What are you going to do about it? And that's why I was asking you questions. I want to know. I want to know what you are going to do about it. And same with some of you out there that are listening now. I want to know, what are you going to do about it when you get slapped in the face with the reality that the impossible has been possible all along, and that you've been lied to, and that you've accepted garbage, or that somebody you trust or love feels very differently about something than you do, or so you meet somebody in a park and they say something threatening to you. What are you going to do about it? So there you go. I have been wait. I have been slapped in the face, and I said, "Do it harder, faggot." Okay. Hey, you know what? Whatever works.
And that is something I would never say to someone who slaps me in the face. So,
I know. I'm the same way. Like, stop that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I won't take. But again, sometimes you fight, sometimes you flee. But I think it's always good to have counsel before you make rash decisions, before you make a decision fueled with anger. And anger is part of nature. And again, there are times to talk about it, and sometimes you should sit on it a day before you react to it. And all, like I said, if it's just a person in a bar or whatever, get up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
On average, just it's not
On
worth it.
average, or stand your ground, but try not. You never know. Like, I don't know. You don't want to risk getting hurt,
Well,
but
I mean, again,
like I was saying, like, what if you were there on a date and somebody approaches you and does that? You don't really have that. That does eliminate one of your options. You can't just run away or walk away. You have somebody else there too, and it may change how this is a variable. It's a curveball. What do you do?
I would encourage. You know what? If I was on a date, I'd say, you know what, this place is getting hostile. Let's get out of here. Let's leave.
Yeah,
And
there's nothing wrong with it, and that's. But that said, I won't lie. I've seen more physical natured arguments lately in the last year or two. I mean, just eyewitness account. It's pretty. It's intensified a bit. I won't lie. Things have intensified, and yeah. All right, Brian, are you done?
I'm sorry, I had to get up. My backside was hurting a little bit. So
Okay. I
yeah.
thought you were farting.
No, no, I wasn't. I had to get up, and bingo never gets that crazy, Brian. Boo hoo.
I'm not going to read that one.
Jeez Louise. Shame
Wow.
But let me, and again, the things that we are fighting as of now. What kind of questions, silly questions do you have?
Okay.
This show is going to the dregs already.
Brian, we'll ask one question. Have you ever heard a woman fart?
Who? I'm 52 years old. Several times. Good God. All right.
All right.
I mean, yeah.
And any other questions that we may? How about High Ridge Estates? Yes, yes. We I wish we can get one more question in before we exit.
God, please.
Brian, Brian, Brian,
Yes.
I have. And let me just say this. We have time for one more question. I'll talk to you off air. Okay. Well, Brian, I think all two of our listeners have stopped asking questions. Are you done with your commentary?
Yeah, I'm done with it. And again, I do believe that America and the civilized world is facing a hell of a fight right now. Like I said again, we are forced to take a vaccine. We are be economically ruined or economically hurt. We are forced to change definitions to what is a woman, to what is racism, to what is hate speech, and they are doing so without question. And this is not a foreign. This is not a foreign country. These are fellow, so-called fellow Americans, but they're not treating you like a fellow American. They're treating you like dirt and trash, and they despise you. And some of them would probably want to see you deceased if you don't agree with them. Anyway, Joey, is there anything else to add before we call this show a day?
Did you know that Lake? Do you know where Lake Mead is? Have you ever heard of Lake Mead? A popular lake destination. It's been in a massive decline in water levels, and some are blaming drought and all this. So, but the water levels are like at unheard of low levels, and so a lot of stuff is being exposed. And one of the things exposed were these big like industrial garbage cans that were stuffed with bodies. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Somebody wanted those people dead.
Perhaps they did.
Yes.
Again, there are individuals out there that can do you harm. Some physically, and others economically. There is a viciousness out there, and there are people that like to joke with me,
Oh yeah.
like to ask me very, very naughty questions, and that's okay. You can be as naughty as you want, but shame on you. All right, Joey. Hey, like and subscribe. I don't know how good this show was. I showed a side of myself that was, that was fairly primal.
Yes.
I don't think I'm that way anymore. But again, there's always a part of me that has an ego, that has pride, and that does have an animal instinct when being challenged or threatened. That like I said, that's part of my human nature, and I think that's part of a lot of people's human nature. And how do you or how does one basically deal with that part of their human nature? Again, I've also said that the conquest ethic, that is also part of human nature, and there is a group, the establishment, hive mind has done the conquest ethic. They did so. However, they did so. They have conquered social media, and they've conquered corporate media, social media, in large portions of the economy, and that's the way it is. Anyway,
Yes.
like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Joey, anything to add before we end it?
I think we're good. I think we're good.
Shame on you, Mandy.
I think it was a fair question.
Give me a break. All right, like, subscribe. Hey,
By the way, my answer was yes. You never know.
oh, now she's unsubbing. Shame on you. Shoot, shoot, shoot. All right.
All right. Goodbye. We're done.
Button. Scott, press the right like button for your sins.
The emos have arrived.
Yeah, emo boy, press the like button. All right, thank you. All right, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and visit our website at transparencyandmerit.com. Thank you.
Peace out.